Forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners, wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection, and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station, New Era, TT Net Radio.
To find everlasting youth, bunks of a witch doctor who professed to know the truth. The brother drugs you in a heart, and he lock up every door. Then he put you on a cart, and he start to roll. Good no good, Keiko si we dan. Shaky head and ball, Then he bring out touch you long. Pack it with a little plant. Start up with a wicked drum if you hear him chant. Oh no go, Keiko si we dan dan oh.
It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
Well, everybody, good morning to you, and of course, welcome to it. Welcome to New Era TT Radio, the heartbeat of the Caribbean, taking you above and beyond. What a beautiful Tuesday morning it is.
It seemed like this witch doctor.
Good morning, Trinidad. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning to our neighbors in the Caribbean, our friends who are streaming all around the globe.
She with a crowbar, make she take off all she
Thank you so much for making us your choice each and every day. It's greatly appreciated.
Well, this is a sweat, but she
Music of the mighty Sparrow in the background there. Celebrates his birthday tomorrow. 90 years old, still going strong. So this week we celebrate the mighty Sparrow on the Era TT Radio. So we're gonna play some classics that I'm sure you will remember. People, I'm yours truly, Sir Charles, and happy am I to be here with you. Also with our team on the inside. Remember, this is the Get Up and Go. We welcome everybody to the breakfast show.
Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line, let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Oh, good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show, energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the breakfast show this morning, this Tuesday morning. I have to double check whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday.
I do.
They're just confused, but they would say that Sparrow's birthday, and I know Sparrow's birthday is tomorrow. It's Wednesday, sorry. Anyway, good morning and welcome to the breakfast show. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers wherever you are, Trinidad and Tobago, up the Caribbean, or wherever you are across the planet. And welcome to the breakfast show this morning. We have lots in stock for you this morning. It's going to be an exciting show. And let me just say a special good morning to my co-host, Wendell, and my other co-host, Sir Charles.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. It was a bit rainy in Arima this morning. There was a shower rain. It's kind of drizzly outside. But it will be a lovely day nonetheless. Welcome. We're happy to be in the land of the living. And for those celebrating birthdays, of course, today. Today is July 8th. 2025, have an absolutely wonderful day. As Richard said, we have a very chock-full program for you today. We have guests in the second hour from the Counter Trafficking Unit of the TTPS. Is it a unit of the TTPS? I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Well, it comes under the Ministry of National Security, for sure.
Right. So it's under the Ministry of National Security, the Counter Trafficking Unit. Miss Dane-Marie Marshall and Mr. Allan Meiguel will be our guests in the second hour. Okay? But lots happening. That news coming out of Texas is so sad.
Oh my goodness. It's a lot to take in.
So sad.
It's a lot to take in. Sometimes I don't really want to, like those campers, I think is particularly sad, all those young girls and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it like the first time something like that has happened in that area?
Probably not. They would have had a disaster before, because I'm reading an article here. That says that their Senator Ted Cruz, is now in Cancun, and somebody actually saw him the day of the disaster and said, "What are you doing here?" You know, and he said he ignored him. He grumbled something, and his wife, Mrs. Cruz, looked at the person had a dirty look, the person described, and they went on their merry way in the vacation in Cancun. They said at least he should have gone back, or at least he should have stayed in his hotel room, not appear like if nothing is happening in your neck of the woods. You know what I mean? It was disgraceful. 94, I think that's the last count of people who are dead.
I think it's close to, I think it's 100 now, you know.
It's reached 100. That is crazy. You know, and it's so sad. It's so sad. I actually know someone, a family that lives in Texas. She migrated years ago. She previously lived at East Dry River in Port of Spain, and she migrated years ago. She was like a local white girl then, back in the day, you know, and she migrated years ago. So, you know, it's just so sad. She already posted that she is where she is safe, you know, because she's the only person actually I know live in Texas, you know. But it's really sad. It's really sad. They said a senator who actually cares about his constituents would have been on the first plane back to Texas the moment the news of the flooding broke. If that wasn't possible, he should have at least remained in his hotel room on the phone, doing everything in his power to help. Instead, Cruz decided to soak up the sun and enjoy the local tourist attractions.
Yeah, that ain't good. That ain't good at all.
You know? Say what? But we have our own version of Little America coming here, Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know if you all listened to the Honorable Prime Minister last evening. But clearly, the Prime Minister, as I said, from the very outset, that she wants to stamp authority in this dispensation. This second time around as Prime Minister. She wants to be in control. She wants to give that impression. Listen, do what I say or ride out. You understand? That's the impression, that's the body language and the even the language that's coming from her. I'm in control, behave all yourself, right? And imagine we had just come out, and as I said, because we spent a lot of mornings here criticizing Dr. Rowley and his abrasive style and how he would speak to people and so on. Clearly, the Prime Minister has decided, you know something, that kind of worked for Dr. Rowley for 10 years. You understand? Even though he was criticized, it worked for him. I'm going to try that same style. Those are my words. That's my interpretation of it, right? You don't have to agree with that. But the Prime Minister last night made some scathing comments, of course, against the Law Association. And I mean, maybe the Law Association are accustomed to it because they got from under the PNM administration too. But she was on some scathing comment. And I mean, we reached down to the stage now where it's not independent senators no more, right? Forget that. So much so that they quoted the Constitution and how the independent senators are appointed. And the word, they pointed out that the word independent does not exist. It is the president's senators. That's the narrative now we're going with. That this bunch of senators, not independent, they are the president's senators. And of course, they made that link of the president who she was appointed by, where her political career started. They make all that link, of course, to kind of almost malign, that's my word, the independence of these senators, right? So we went down that road too. But the last straw, and we're going to probably, Richard, maybe you should play it. I wouldn't say it. Maybe
I am not starting anything. You going down your road. I'm not starting anything until we do good news, because we have discipline in this show. You've gone down your rabbit hole, talking all kind of thing about independent senators and what Kamala say on the platform. And I said, wait, he gone past good news and he started the show.
Oh, my apologies, my humblest apologies. First, let me say good morning also to a special good morning to Suzanne Jessup, who passed and checked me by Rumbox yesterday. Morning, Suzanne. Good to see you. Richard, do your good news before and let me come back. Hurry up.
Islands in the sun, Trinidad to the bone.
Touch up on West Indies, blowing them big trees, hot sun and cool breeze. You already know. West Indies, under the palm trees, hot sun and cool breeze. Trinidad to the bone. Nowhere in the world you could live so happy. From town to the valley, we love gal and party. And we don't trouble nobody, no, no. From the highlands to the city, my sweet twin island. Red, white, black when you see me. Because we Trinidad to the bone, yeah. What's a wine and mash up the road, yeah. Caribbean beauty. Hot and groovy. Little moody. She's so in love to be in West Indies, blowing them big trees, hot sun and cool breeze. You already know. West Indies, under the palm trees, hot sun and cool breeze. They go to the bone. It's my twin islands, where we live like vacation. All talk conversations, that's what we love. Every year is mass cross the nation. Them gal ways in rotation. If you just have some patience, you'll find your home. From the highlands to the city, my sweet twin island. Red, white, black when you see me. So you do you, my love. It's you I'm so proud of. Because you're Trinidad to the bone, yeah. What's a wine and mash up the road, yeah. Caribbean beauty. Hot and groovy. Little moody. She's so in love to be in West Indies.
Sweetness in abundance everywhere. Sweet TNT. Oh, how I love my country. Sweet TNT. All this sugar can't be good for me. No, 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 no. Sweet TNT.
Yep.
So I just felt like playing that video again. You know, it's just such a lovely video and such
It indeed is.
and it's such a lovely song. So
You
I
damn
just said,
playing.
you know what? I'm playing that again for the good news this morning. Put people in a good mood.
Yeah. I'm not in a bad mood, but at the same time, Trinidad and Tobago is such a sweet place. I mean, we have levels of indiscipline that we grapple with certain issues like most other societies. I mean, we've had a murderous rampage recently. Last night on the news, as I said, it was a little depressing watching the news. I mean, with what's happening in Texas and also what's happening here. I mean, two young cousins, no one knows what caused their death. No one knows how they were murdered or what's the circumstances leading up to their murder, at least publicly. So they were found in Maruga, some lonely place in Maruga, shot and killed. You know, so it's depressing. It sometimes could depress you. You know, but generally we have a lovely space. You know, we have lovely people. We have people who mean well. We have people who do well. You know, and so I don't know how the politics is going to fix that, or how the politicians, the past group and the current group, going to fix it. I know that people have tried individually. leaders have tried, you know what I mean? And maybe this leader is also trying in her own way to try to fix this place. How it will work out, I don't know. Thankfully, my children are all adults now, you know what I mean? They've made their own choices in life, you know? The last one, he's 20. He does not smoke. He does not drink. You know what I mean? Thank God for that. I've never smoked marijuana in my life. I don't gamble. I mean, I'll play lotto from time to time. I don't gamble. And I drink sparingly. You understand? On occasions. It's not like if every day I had to get up, I had to get a drink. You know, I had to go to the bar or whatever. That has never been my style. You know what I mean? So when, as an adult at age 18, because you are an adult at age 18, you can drive a car, you can vote, and that's where the politicians absolutely love you when you turn 18. They absolutely love you. You understand? There are so many decisions you can make at age 18 when you officially become an adult. But guess what? We have a government that is now proposing that you can't gamble at age 18. You have to wait till age 25. You can't smoke marijuana that was decriminalized for certain amounts. You can't smoke it at age 18 anymore, or at any age until you get to 25 and older. And you can't drink alcohol until you get to age 21. Those are the proposals on the table. That's the type of legislation we are being told going to come to Parliament. You decide. It ain't going to affect me one way. Thankfully, it won't affect my children either. I have only one son under the age of 25. And as I say, he neither smokes nor drinks. And he definitely ain't gambling. You understand? So it doesn't affect him. How does it affect you? Because you have adults, some of you have children that are just turning 18. They are being asked to vote. They are being asked to support a political party that is now telling them, now proposing this type of legislation. You decide.
Well, while Richard gets his
A
thoughts
license
together.
and party license. I move now to addiction. I've spoken about this in the campaign. Gambling, marijuana, alcohol legislation will also be brought to Parliament. We intend to raise the legal age for gambling and marijuana use to the age 25 and older. And the legal age for alcohol will be raised to 21 years and older.
I thought it was a longer video.
36 seconds.
What are my thoughts on this? Well, I am a supporter of if you're 18, you're 18. You're an adult, you're an adult. You can get married. So you can get married and have your wedding ceremony and have it in your head, but you can't drink. It's all part of the conservative lilt that the UNC seems to be on. And remember, I have said that they seem to be mirroring, in my opinion, Republican policies. Of course, that's not specifically a Republican policy, but it's certainly an age limit that the United States has, specifically with certain what she's proposing there. But it seems as if the UNC has taken a big lean to the right in terms of being more right-wing than usual. And of course, it seems to be propelled by the leader. But this is not new, because this was said on the campaign trail. And I would have mentioned, well, how are the young people on the campaign trail and how are the young people who are voters taking this in? Because we have a culture of drinking.
Mm-hmm.
We have a culture of it. We have a culture of that kind of liberalness with regard to alcohol. The Caribbean generally, but Trinidad and Tobago specifically, and especially because of Carnival and all of those things, we are pretty liberal in terms of the age that we start drinking. I mean, of course, many people started drinking younger than 18. I mean, I actually started after 18 because I was never a drinker. Still, I'm not a huge drinker. I don't drink things like, you know me, I don't drink scotch. And you could give me a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue as a gift. I will never taste it. I'll give it to somebody else. There are other drinkers in the house, but not me. I'm not going to drink whiskey and all those sorts of things. The only way I stray past that is the brand, Hennessy. So it obviously seems to be a lilt in that direction. I wonder at what age all of the goodly members of the UNC started to drink. That'll be interesting to know. So, it is what it is. It's whether the society accepts it or not. But in my opinion, it is an obvious indication that the UNC has become a right-wing party of sorts. That's my opinion. And as I said, I think they're kind of copying the Republican handbook. My opinion, and the whole thing of criticizing the Law Association, let me tell you something, the Law Association back very broad. Lawyers backs are extremely broad. They understand when they make statements. They understand the whole issue of court is adversarial. So the Law Association it is important that the Law Association speaks out, whether Dr. Rowley vex or whether Kamala Prasad vex. The Law Association has a remit to speak out on certain issues and be vigilant. And people could say, oh, the people in the Law Association are PNM, or the people in the Law Association are UNC, because they've been accused of both by both administrations. Law Association, do not take them on. Do not take on the PNM, do not take on the UNC. You have your mandate as the Law Association, duly elected by attorneys across Trinidad and Tobago, to speak out on legal issues and how you see it and how the country moves forward. Do that and stand by whatever your opinion is.
Yeah. Yep. So Charles, you have an opinion? I know you're strong on opinion.
No, I was just running through statistics in most areas, and you're right, with the exception of the US, most countries are 18 where alcohol is concerned. The US has 21, and but most countries are at 18 years, 18 to 21 in most cases. So I was just running through that to pull it up to see exactly.
I feel I don't have the information,
It's not for you, not for you alone.
Just talking off the cuff.
Yeah. I clearly remember I was in my 30s and I was in Miami. I went to a restaurant and they asked to see my ID for me to buy a drink. I didn't think I looked anything under 21 at the time. Maybe I did.
And if you go to African American bars or brown skin bars, they're more particular. White bars, they may not ask you sometimes.
Yes.
Black bars specifically ask you because they're under more scrutiny.
Yes. True. Very true. Very true. Very true. So how Trinidad and Tobago going to take those changes? Time will tell. But we're going to poll you today on it. We're actually going to poll you. You could decide.
Yeah, well, instead of saying you're actually going to poll you, I hope you draft the poll and you sent it already. But you know what? We have
I'm not the attorney, brother.
Yeah, we have to greet our listeners and viewers, which we have not done yet. So let's start.
All right. Subhash Mangal, the man from Woodland, started at 10:20 p.m. Subhash, like you couldn't sleep. I wonder what was keeping you up. Good day, everyone from Woodland. Blessings to all. Suzanne Jessup, of course, also came in at 2:04. Good morning, Suzanne. As I said, thanks for coming and greeting me yesterday. I was just on the way out, and one hell of a shower rain came down right after that. She messaged quite a bit. Then Brennan Smith from Goodwood in Tobago. Boy Bidesi from Debe says good morning. Marcia Rock from Orlando, Florida. Elizabeth says good morning. Sir Charles, Richard, and Wendell. Doreen Pierre, good morning from North Carolina. Marlon Motley from North Valsine. Is it North? It's North Valsine. Yes, it is. Wendy and James.
Good morning, Marlon.
Anne-Marie Watson, Miss Maloney says good morning. Sherwin and Juliet Kerr from Arima via YouTube saying a hearty good morning. Alistair Hart from San Fernando. Guys, it's very sad what's going on in Texas. It is very sad. Ann Noel says good morning. Wayne Ramsey from Fort Lauderdale. Stick Money Grip. Maureen Dilchan Maharaj says good morning and bless you to everyone. Ozzy Molino says good morning. Odell Guy from Sangre Grande also says good morning. Lennox Francois. Odell Guy, I need your number. I need to speak to you about something. If you could get your number, you could WhatsApp your number to Sir Charles and he'll send it to me, please. Yeah. On 281-1315. Lennox Francois also says good morning. DL, good morning, guys. Katia and Charles from Cascade and that Jim in Maraval. Carol Guevara from Central Trinidad. Erica Charles, thanks God for life. Magic also says Grand Rising. Diane Payne says good morning, Net. Hazel Will, I suspect is Hazel Williams or Wilson. No, she has two L's, so it might be Williams. Patricia DeFore, Lambert Bruce from El Dorado. Helen Prescott says good morning. Ron DeSantis Jr., my fellow Bacchanalists. Hey, Ron DeSantis, know you well now, Richard. Robert Taylor from Fernandina Beach. Cheryl Johnson from Malabar in Arima. Richard R. That's Katie. Oh, Katie dropped in also to see me over. What day was Katie there? Was it Friday last?
Good morning, Katie.
Friday last. He said he didn't know we back on radio. I said, but look, Katie, look at how long we back on radio. It's 3 months already. You know, he said he saw Steve and he got the information. So I showed him how to find us. So welcome back, Katie. All right, good seeing you too. Ava Smith says good morning. Valerie Mendoza, Miss Dabedy, Charles Adderley, okay, 104 latest update. That's it, that tool, I guess, in Texas. CJ from New York, morning, CJ. Andre Reno also says good morning. It's raining in Beach, he said. Andre, you had to tell me about Beach. You had to give us a story about Beach, the real story. Ron DeSantis Jr. says Ted Cruz is what we are in the conservative movement call a Republican in name only, a rhino. Biznat Prasad says good morning. And Far Rockaway also said, Wendell, that might be fake news. Reports I see he was in Greece vacation. Well, it is Greece. You know, I said the wrong thing. Far Rockaway. It is Greece. He is in. It is in Greece. I named the wrong thing. The last time he was in Cancun, vacationing when they had a issue in Texas. This time he's in Greece. So you are correct. Yes, Richard, the PNM in him is coming out. Who PNM? Me? I have PNM. That ought to come out. Trini Gets Fit says, morning, guys. Kelcha Cambridge, good morning. Bernadette Yates also says, good morning. Joyce Phillip, DL, the Cancun. Yes, I did read the wrong. I said the wrong location. My apologies. It is, in fact, Greece. All right? Love this song, says Tara Guevara. Hey, Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles, the breakfast. That's him. Hillbench. Chef Joanne, who's a new name. Greetings from Brooklyn, New York. It's going to be a glorious day. Indeed, it is. Apollonius also says good morning. Rena Jennings from PD Valley. Richard Jemmett from Rio Claro and his mom, Josephine. Brent Hackshaw also says good morning. Ram Naresh says
good morning, Josephine. Ma Josephine.
Kazim Mohammed also says good morning. Patty Petard. I wonder if that's supposed to be Peters. Good says also good morning. Robert Harper says good morning. Hazel Will again. DL Mogins. Melchizedek. Evans David. Just a nice guy says top of the morning to Wendell, Sir Charles, and Richard. Yvette Phillip also says good morning from Siparia. And that's all our greetings for the morning. All right? People went off on the tangent again. Again, my apologies. It is Greece he is in, not Cancun. Right? Cancun was on the last occasion, but he is in fact in Greece, vacationing in Greece. Right?
Let me also say good morning to the people on the WhatsApp. So Vina Mohammed got in very early this morning. So good morning, Vina. Thank you for being here. Carlin out there in Carenage on the move early this morning. Captain Ron out there in Orlando. Good day to you. Oliver Manwarin up early. Archbishop Ashton Clark, good day to you. Margaret Thomas, a blessed day. Kent out there in Laventille. He's locked on. Terry Ann Peters, she's locked on. My sister, Judy Davis, is locked on this morning. Thank you very much, Judy. Mr. Beeps out there in Pity Valley. And Frank in Arizona is locked on also. And I think that is it for now. Yeah. Okay, I got the number for you, Wendell, so I'll send it to you. All right. So,
Wendell, we're not hearing you. Your mic is off for some reason.
Did I lose you guys?
My apologies. I was reading a couple messages. My apologies.
Yeah, so your mic was off. We saw your mouth moving busily. And, what
Yes.
is he saying? Is he having one of those episodes?
Yeah. No, but I was reading the two messages. One from Brent Hackshaw said pensioners will not be paying tax. That would be great. And Andre also says the Russian transport minister was fired yesterday morning, and by evening he was found dead.
He was dead as a doornail.
Wow.
Yeah, and Putin still surprises people.
Well, you took his life?
Yes, Sir Charles. Yes, Sir Charles. He said, nigga fired, and he said, I can't live anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. You go down that rabbit hole, Sir Charles.
All right. So Joyce Phillips also says, come on, people, press the like and share button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Of course, she means, and I have to tell you that a particular survey was done by a particular group, and we are very high on the percentage level of radio stations being viewed on YouTube and on social media. All right, we are very high. Okay, so thank you very
like
much.
and subscribe.
Yes, just like and subscribe. We want to get Richard, what's your target?
100,000.
100,000. I mean, not too far off, people. Come on, keep liking and sharing.
That's a very political and politician-like statement, but okay. Let's let it go. Anyway,
Politics ruling.
we can start with the news day for today, and of course, today is Tuesday, the 8th of July, 2025, and I'll start with the news day. And Dowlat, no change in SEA placement process. I don't know if people felt there was a change, but he says there's no change. Prime Minister slammed the Association for Political Hypocrisy. Geological Society suggests real-time warning systems in Los Iros. Abdullah criticizes PM's CARICOM summit absence. That has also had a lot of commentary. I don't know what is going on with the UNC. I don't know.
You don't know?
There is no, you don't have to be so combative you want.
Yeah.
Why you feel the need to be combative with the Law Association?
Well, combative period. Because you got a resounding victory.
Now you live in a democracy, lest you forget it. There are going to be people who are going to have opinions that are different to yours in terms of the direction of the country. There's some that will agree with you, and there's some that will not. That's what a democracy is. And if you have a problem with opposing voices, then I am sure there's a little satellite village somewhere on the border of Russia, or they could move to. But otherwise, if you are a Trinidad and Tobago space, we are still a democracy, and there are people who are going to disagree with you. Okay, that's fine. Be a little bit more generous of spirit and says, yes, we welcome differing opinions, but we have been elected and we are the ones who will determine the policy. That's what governance is.
Yes. At the end of the day, the voters get to decide whenever an election is called.
And they have decided.
Yes.
And not only that, you have a sweeping majority. So I don't know why it almost seems why you so sensitive to every opposition voice to whatever you are saying. People are going to oppose you on certain points because people see Trinidad and Tobago in a particular way, and sometimes they're just going to go disagree with your policies. And some of your policies you're going to have to amend because it's just if you are sensitive to the democracy. Some you will amend, and some you will say, okay, this is where I see it. You know, and that's it. You're going to have dissenting voices because you are in a democracy. You don't have to get, upset about it. Just understand what the space in which you are. I don't know, but anyway, that's how I see it. So that's it for the news day, Wendell. You could go on with the experts.
Oh, I didn't know you were I thought you had
really, because I said it earlier, but if you were paying attention, you would have known.
That's when my mic was on. So, Charles, you go ahead while I craft the pool.
All right, okay. So in the Guardian, DB campus repair work to start soon, according to the Prime Minister. Youngster needs help to fight cancer. It's my last option. A young man just turning 19, and he needs your help. So you can check out that story in the Guardian, people. And if you can help him to deal with his cancer situation, would be nice. WASA picks 6 more executive members. And Saddam, 32 CPEP contractors struck off company's registry. Reforestation workers demand answers on future of the program. CW, as in Communication Workers Union, raises alarm over possible firing of TSTT CEO. And we see Antigua's PM to Trinidad and Tobago government pay up outstanding US $60 million. Who was asking us for money there? The Grenada or somebody else went, right? Motley Motley urges region to defend its voice, and ex-OWTU rep wants more done to curb threats at Mothballed Refinery. Thefts, not threats. And that's it in the Guardian today. Just a few of the many stories.
Today's Express, Beckles, what did Moody's visit cost taxpayers? That's opposition leader Penelope Beckles. 2 accused of murdering doctor gets $1 million bail. Respect legend Brian Lara. That guy is mad from South Africa. He is mad. And as a matter of fact, I don't know that South Africans will ever forgive him for what he did. He said that Brian Lara deserves that record as a legend. That's why he declared. Now, he's the captain of the team. He is mad. You hear? Who does that?
He is the interim captain. He's not the regular captain.
Yeah, he mad. I mean, I'm happy that Brian Lara record intact. I'm a big Brian Lara fan. All you know that. 21 years. I mean, I've watched Brian Lara play cricket since he played for Fatima on the Mokorap Road. You know what I mean? So I don't mind, but he's mad. Wian Mulder, you are mad. TT team keeps rolling in ITF, and of course other stories. Lois back at WASA. That's Ellen Lewis. She has returned to WASA as director of consumer or something. So, SEA top performer credits success to sacrifice, support, and self-belief. 60 years as a lawyer. That's also a story. I don't know what that is about. And residents say police to blame for empty town hall. I don't know what that story is also about. So those are the stories making the news in the Express Online. All right.
And this is the point at which we can open up our lines, 2811315, 2811315, where we get interactive with you before we get to the morning poll. My problem, well, first of all, let me say my opinion. I disagree with the raising of the age. I always have a problem with it in the United States, that if you're an adult, you're an adult. You could go out to fight wars for the United States, but you can't drink. I find that this is an anomaly. So I believe once you decide what the age of an adult is, you are now an adult. And we have decided that it's 18, so therefore it's 18. You don't have grade. What you're doing is putting gradients of adult. If it's 18, it's 18. If you want to change the age of adults to 21, then change it to 21. And everyone under the age of 21 is a minor. Okay, that's a possible policy decision. But if it's 18, it's 18. And so that's my thing. And the other thing I have a problem with is that if somebody is found with alcohol or gambling or marijuana use at the age of 18 or 19, what do you do? Are you not going to give them a criminal record? What is the penalty? Is it a ticket or is it a criminal record? And if it's a criminalization of young people for drinking alcohol at the age of 18 or gambling at the age of 18 or using marijuana at the age of 18, even though it's legal for people older, then I have a problem, because it means you've now criminalized or made criminal activities that are legal if you were just a few years older, and are legal right now if you're age 18, and you're now playing with the future of young people by giving them this record that can go on their police certificate of character.
And imagine.
If you're going in that direction, I don't know in which direction they're going. So let me say that I don't know, and that's also a concern. Older people love to make rules and regulations for younger people. You know, it's always older people who do it.
All right, so
as a young person myself, I just have to say it's always the older people who like to make all the rules and say, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. Sometimes you need to just stop it.
It's called parents. Hello, good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. Norfolk, Virginia, front and center. I want to pay a quick tribute to the late, great Hans Hanuman Singh, personal experience when I first met him. But before I do, Richard, I couldn't agree with you more in everything that you're saying there. As a matter of fact, one thing though, the classic liberal, we have to thank for all the great freedoms and benefits we have today, and that's the classic liberal. But the extreme in everything else, the extreme liberalism and stuff that we have today, well, that's up for debate. But you are so right in everything that you just said. Because if they could draft you and me in most countries to go fight and, kill our fellow men or women, why can't we have a little alcohol, right? Hey, as far as Hans Hanuman Singh is concerned, I remember meeting him sometime back in the mid-'80s when I did a consultancy for an organization out in Valsayn. And at that time, I was still a student also, part-time. And I was supposed to go, for a couple of trips throughout the US, and talking to Hans, and I told him, well, Vegas, one of the places, Los Angeles, Massachusetts, and so on, in one trip. And in the old Hans Hanuman Singh, he had a very distinct voice and great diction in the way he spoke. And being the entrepreneur that he was, and always great for opportunity, he was a great entrepreneur, of course, right? So and I think Amrose, he took over Amrose Travel or something, you can correct me, I might be wrong, right? But so when I was telling Hans where I'll be going, for my training and stuff, he said, well, I sell airline tickets, in that great diction and that voice of his, and so on. And, but anyway, just to give you, my meeting with him, a great gentleman, and he will be missed, and a great son on the soil. Has he been awarded a national award or anything? Anybody knew if they did during while he was alive? Great day.
You may have been, I'm not sure.
I think he got a doctorate, honorary doctorate from UE, I think in 2010, and he received the Hummingbird Silver, one of those medals in the 90s somewhere also.
Oh, well, Charles got it already.
Yeah. Good morning to you, caller.
Hi, good morning. So yesterday was the 7th, and we had 10 murders, 10 maybe, or a little bit more, within the first week of July. But we studying 18-year-olds at drinking alcohol and smoking weed. All right. When you have to win, everybody wins, I guess. Have a great day, gentlemen.
All right. Yeah, there's been a murderous rampage lately, but it's
Yeah. But Gary Griffith sent a message, and it's a valid point. You don't even enforce the 18 years right now. There's very few bars now. I can't say I have never gone to a bar and they have asked, like I've gone with Karen and to collect food, and sometimes she said in the bar and asked me want something to drink. And of course, he's in his 20s, but he could look like he's younger.
Yeah.
And he has been ID'd. They have asked, well, can we see your ID? Are you over 18? And so that has happened. But how much is that really happening in snackets and whatever rum shops still exist across the country? I don't know. Because you see some young people drinking that you figure they can't be 18.
Yes.
So there's obviously a problem with enforcement of it. In terms and of course as bar owners that should be held responsible. You're the one that's supposed to check people's ID. You're the one who's supposed to say, if somebody looks a little young, you're supposed to say, can I just see your ID? You're looking so young, and you should take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
And then
just to answer Terrence Jack, you can on any people of any age can enter establishments. It's what they serve, it's what they buy, attempt to buy.
Many restaurants will serve alcohol, but many restaurants also serve burgers and fries.
Exactly.
And non-alcoholic drinks. And non-alcoholic drinks.
Yeah.
So it's really incumbent on the bar to double check people's IDs at the age of 18, because 18 is already the age right now.
Yeah.
As I said, the UNC is proposing whatever issue, wherever conservative bug has bitten the yellow. It's obviously coursing through the veins.
Caller, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Sir Charles.
Morning, Aberdeen.
Good morning, Wendell. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
So, I thought, when last I checked, we live in a democracy. So now, because you as an independent senator, not going to vote with the government and particular bills, you are no longer an independent senator. So those who vote for the government are the independent ones, and those who vote against aren't. Those are the president's senators. So, Richard, I want to find out something. I asked a question yesterday to someone, one of my friends who is an attorney, but I still asked another attorney. So, is it as it is now that the government has 26 seats and plus the 2 Tobago seats, can they get rid of the president before the time? That is my question. No. And I want to hang up on the next question I want to ask is, if you are 18 years and you could vote, so I can't do anything else, why can't you do anything else? Because you're drinking at age 14, you're drinking at age 15. So if any law come into being and to wait till you reach 25, you feel that people taking on that? I have no problem with it. I don't smoke, I don't drink. My children are under 25. They don't smoke and they don't drink. But I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem with you telling people who are already 18 years, who are already adults, they can't smoke. And well, not marijuana, I don't care. Don't care about that. They shouldn't have marijuana in my books. But they can't drink alcohol. So what?
Yeah.
That ain't making sense. Richard, answer my question, please. I want to know today. Thank you.
Well, you're going to poll it, so you can vote on the poll.
No, that's not what she's asking, Meiguel. She's asking whether the UNC can just remove the president. The president can only be removed for certain defined reasons under the Constitution. It's not about your majority. Your majority will come into play when the new president is to be appointed. But in terms of removing a president, there are certainly defined reasons in the Constitution to remove a president.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Final caller before the poll. Caller, good morning.
Morning, sir. This is Linda.
Morning,
Sir,
Linda.
something that doesn't sit well with me when you all were talking about the newspaper headlines and so. Is this little child talking about the reason for her success in the SCA is discipline and hard work? I think that's a burden too heavy for any child that age. All children deserve to go to a good secondary school, and they shouldn't have to be disciplined. They should be able to play. It's time to ban homework, from my perspective. And you see all these people who don't want children to be children, you all ease up, let each other have fun. If they have a little drink or two, it's no big deal. No this thing telling children this one is your auntie and this one is your uncle, and no blood relation whatsoever. Children are people. They may be younger than adults. They may not have the benefit of experience and wisdom, but they are people. And it's trying to start treating them like people. And let them play. That's the stage of their development where they need to play and have fun. All your old people who forgot, have fun? Too bad. Let the kids have fun. Okay, thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
I know there are several Scandinavian countries that don't give you homework and stuff. and they allow that what she's talking about, that children should be children, and when you're doing schoolwork, it's in certain defined hours, but they have some who come through an entire system of education and never get homework. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
All right. Morning poll.
So let's get into our poll. We have 3 minutes left for the news, and of course you can keep voting during the news, and we will count your votes after. All right. So what's our poll there, Richard?
It's on the screen, Wendell.
Do you agree with the proposed raise in age limits for alcohol, gambling, and marijuana use? Of course, gambling and marijuana use, the age limit is to be raised to 25. That's a proposal. And for alcohol, it's to be raised to age 21. Do you agree with those new proposals coming out of the Prime Minister last night on the platform, right? On the Monday Night Forum. Do you agree? Yes or no? You ready for votes, Richard?
Yes, Wendell.
Okay, I like it. I like to hear that. I find more people should say that. Yes, Wendell. Yes, Wendell. If only my life is simple. Kazim Mohammed says no. Josie Richardson, no. Meiguel Gonzalez, no. Well, Diane Payne, yeah, you're sure right. They used to say he was a dictator. Marlon Motley, no. Jason Samuel, you're not voting. Diane Payne, no. Donna Ramlochan, yes. Ramner, you had a vote. Trini Gets Fit, no. Mo Gaines, yes. Rena Jennings, no. Joyce Phillip, no. Slick Money Grip, no. Darren Thompson, no. Gregory Boyer, no. Ramner says yes. Margaret Thomas, no. Marlene Saunders Sobers, no. DL, no. Candice Pascal, you didn't vote. Alistair Hart, no. Donna Ramlochan, didn't you vote already? Yes. Carol Guevara, no. Cheryl Henry, you're not voting, you have to vote. Robert Harper, no. Ava Smith, no. Kazim Ahmed says, good point, Jason. Brent Hackshaw, no. Melchizedek says, after the horse bolted out the door, you close the door. So no. Island Girl didn't vote. Michael Oliver, no. Valerie Mendoza, no. Bernadette Yates, no. Scorpion Pepper, yes. Andre, yes.
Okay, so continue to vote throughout the poll, throughout the news. Sorry about that.
Did I say Andre, yes? Andre is no. Classic Brother, no. Island Girl, no. All right. So, Charles, you have any?
Yeah, but I'll give it them after the news.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Maureen Dilchan Maharaj also. Sorry. Maureen Dilchan Maharaj also says no. We have two 20 seconds. Oh no, well, that's it. We're done. We go for the news now, and when we come back, we'll count your votes again and give you the results of our poll. And of course, we have as our guest the counter-trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security. Okay?
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The body of kidnapped victim Kerry Von Adams was found in a fruit and vegetable garden at the heights of Guanapo, Arima yesterday. The 35-year-old from Red Hill, Dabadi, was last seen on Saturday. Police report that his sister received a ransom call early Sunday morning demanding $15,000. Following the caller's instructions, she dropped the money between Gill and Davis Avenue and was told to collect her brother at the Arima Boys RC School. However, when she arrived, he was not there, and subsequent calls went unanswered. A farmer discovered the body around midday yesterday while tending to his crops. The Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago has expressed deep concern about what it calls unwarranted attacks on independent senators following the recent pension bill debate. The association criticized public remarks targeting senators who did not support the Prime Minister's pension amendment bill, emphasizing that independent senators are selected by the President to provide diverse perspectives, not political party nominations. In response, the UNC defended its right to analyze and criticize lawmakers, calling the Law Association's statement anti-democratic. UNC spokesperson Dr. Kirk Meiguel argued that citizens have the right to scrutinize senators appointed by what he termed the most politically aligned president in our republic's history. PNM Port of Spain South MP Keith Scotland says the withdrawal of an axed CPEP contractor's High Court claim was a strategic move, not a legal setback. Speaking at the party's first public meeting since new leadership was appointed, Scotland explained that Stephen Samuels Contractors Limited withdrew its lawsuit after discovering the company had been struck from the company's registry without its knowledge. Former Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi said many CPEP companies were victims of an exercise to delist companies from the registry. Scotland believes workers were targeted because of political affiliations and plans to fight the matter on constitutional grounds. Over 300 contractors were dismissed on June 27th, affecting around 11,000 workers. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In regional news, CARICOM's Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett has called on Caribbean leaders to recommit to integration goals as the region faces complex challenges. Speaking at the 49th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Montego Bay, Dr. Barnett praised outgoing Chair Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley for amplifying the region's voice and welcomed incoming Chair Jamaica's Andrew Holness. The meeting is addressing climate change, food security, and citizen security under the theme People, Partnerships, Prosperity. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Mottley credited U.S. President Trump with unintentionally strengthening CARICOM's food security partnerships after threatening tariffs on Chinese-made ships, revealing that a Caribbean trade delegation recently visited Brazil to develop cheaper food access. In international news, more than 100 people are confirmed dead following devastating flash floods in central Texas, with at least 84 fatalities in Kerr County alone. Search efforts continue for dozens still missing, including children and staff from Camp Mystic, a girls' summer camp where 27 people died. At least 10 children and one counselor remain unaccounted for. Authorities warn that more rain and thunderstorms are expected in the region, raising concerns about additional flash flooding. Questions have emerged about whether adequate flood warnings were provided to residents. President Trump is planning to visit the devastated area later this week to assess the damage and coordinate federal response efforts. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio,
Your mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio. Your mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle.
Join me, Brother David Muhammad, every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio, Powerful Radio. Join me to hear knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Tuesdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
Welcome you inside the second hour of the breakfast show right here on New Era TT Radio. The music in the background there of the mighty Sparrow. And guess what, people? The time is here. And on the station, of course, we are paying tribute to the King of Calypso, the mighty Sparrow. He celebrates his 90th birthday on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And coming up on the afternoon drive time today and tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday. Remember, that is your next date on the YouTube channel, right? So this Tuesday and Wednesday with Tony Fraser, we'll be playing the music and having the likes of Professor Hollis Liverpool, the mighty Chalkless. He will be there together with Dr. Rudolph Otley. And music maestro Zeno Constance. And they will be talking with journalist Tony Fraser about the vast, very meaningful collections of the Dr. Bird. So you can join them just after 4 o'clock. Today, Tuesday, and tomorrow, Wednesday, as we recognize the astonishing array of contribution of the mighty Sparrow right here on New Era TT Radio. So remember that when you will join us later on inside of the Drive Time Exchange, remember when you're up there on our YouTube channel and on Facebook page, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. All right, so let's take a couple messages before we jump back inside the breakfast.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com. or call us at 299-5156. Now, what are you waiting for?
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17 come enjoy Children Iron Chef Competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
Looking for trusted, affordable security and property services? Horatio Services has you covered across Trinidad and Tobago. We offer battle security, K9 patrols, 24/7 protection, and all sorts of private investigations, discreet, professional, and effective. But that's not all. We also provide construction. From building to renovation, we bring your vision to life. Landscaping, keep your outdoors looking sharp and inviting. Maintenance, repairs, upkeep, and everything in between. At Horatio Services, you get professionalism, reliability, and personal care. Whether it's safety or property support you need, visit us at Moreno Street, Arima. Call 373-5122 today. Horatio Services, protection, precision, peace of mind.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. All right, so we are back on the breakfast show this morning. This, of course, is the second hour. And, of course, we have some guests coming up shortly from the counter-trafficking unit. So interesting conversation. And so that will begin shortly. But we still are finishing off our poll for this morning. And our poll this morning, just in case you missed it and just you want to get into the last-minute voting, is... do you agree with the proposed raise in age limit for alcohol, gambling, and marijuana use? That's our poll this morning. What says you? Wendell, any additional votes?
Yes, we do have additional votes. Since the beginning, there's a hard shower rain just come down in Arima here. Just like that. Hard. And a special good morning to Amjad Ali from Furniture Plus and the folks out there at Furniture Plus, all the branches all over Trinidad and Tobago. And, of course, the Gary Ad from Sharpley Auto. Special good morning, gentlemen. So I stopped at Maureen Dilchan Maharaj, right? Cheryl Henry says no. Prabha says good morning. Michael Robinson, no. Jason Samuel, no. He said his vote was influenced by you, Richard. Jason, yes, he will be 90 tomorrow. Will he be on the show? We're trying, Jason. Ambrose Bra says good morning. Diane Hamill says yes to the poll. And Coconut Bloodline Apparel, ooh, that's a new name, just says good morning. Anne-Marie Watson, no. Brennan Smith, no. So, Charles?
Yeah. All right. So Lincoln says no. Howard in Rima, FATS International. And Howard, we need to chat, all right? Howard says no. Kenwin says yes. Indigo Martin Jr. says yes. Joseph Clement says no. Michael out there in Long Island says no. Linda didn't vote. Archbishop Ashton Clark in Canada says no. DW says yes. And Helen out there in Princestown says no.
All right, I have three more. Sorry. Three more for you, Richard. Akmatiyahu says no. Hazel Will, yes. And Trinidad and Tobago today says no. Those are our final votes because we have a guest coming in very soon. We have 2 guests coming in actually very soon. So what's your count, Richard? Count and crumble.
Yeah.
All right. So our poll this morning: do you agree with the proposed raise in age limits for alcohol, gambling, and marijuana use? We had 48 people voting in the allotted time, and of the 48 people, 39 of you said no, you do not agree with the proposed age limits for alcohol, gambling, and marijuana use. So 39 of you said no, 9 of you said yes. So the nays have it by a huge margin this morning, saying no, they do not agree with that policy direction. And so that's it for our poll this morning. The poll is now done.
Picking up that paper, Richard.
Now mind your business now.
That was real, did he?
How the person over the age of 18 because maybe they shouldn't be picking up paper at that age.
Mind your business.
Under the sofa. Finbar Collins, behave yourself. Behave yourself.
Right, so let me take off the poll because the poll is on tune. So I'll take that off. And of course, we're moving into our interview this morning because it's now our Let's Talk segment on the breakfast show. Yeah, it is. And we're coming back with the counter-trafficking unit.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's say a good morning to Ms. Dane-Marie Marshall, the Deputy Director of the Counter-Trafficking Unit, and Mr. Allan Meiguel, the Director of the Counter-Trafficking Unit. And welcome, guys, to the breakfast show on this Tuesday morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. Richard, Wendell, Sir Charles.
Good morning, Mr. Meiguel. And
Good
where is
morning.
Mr. Marshall?
Good morning. I am.
She's off camera, isn't she?
She's getting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Meiguel and Ms. Marshall, and thanks for joining us on the breakfast show. We had interviewed you all before, not so?
Yes, you did. The whole idea of World Day Against Trafficking, it's annual.
Yeah,
So,
I specifically remember doing an interview with you two guys before. It would have been on the previous dispensation, but I specifically remember us interviewing you all before.
Certainly, yes.
Thanks again for joining us. All right, Richard?
I suppose you could start off with what the counter-trafficking unit does. For people who are not familiar with the counter-trafficking unit or the existence of the counter-trafficking unit, if you could just start there. I mean, we would know it, but other people may not. So if you could start there.
If I just go a little historical. Remember when about a decade ago we spoke about the world becoming a village and everything is interconnected?
Yep.
Well, that was true, but it also provided a platform for international criminal networks to exploit that globalization. And one of the ways, the crime we see increasing exponentially at that time was trafficking in persons. And we recognize that there's a correlation between conflict areas where people you have forced migration or you have internal conflicts, and these networks taking advantage of that and trafficking in human beings, so much so that it exploded into a $1 trillion business. In response to that, the United Nations in 2001 established the protocols for the exploitation of and prosecution of persons involved in trafficking. We incorporated that into our local law, into the TIPS Act in 2011, I think it was. And that established the counter-trafficking unit. So our job is really to show the country's response to trafficking in persons. That is to find those networks, to prosecute those networks, to sensitize the public, to protect victims, and create partnership in this fight. So that is really the background behind it. Our work is assessed on an annual basis by the U.S. Department of State, and they have a grading system, a tiered system, which tells you whether you're meeting the minimum standard or not, and the steps that you must take in order to elevate yourself from a tier 2 watch list to a tier 1 perhaps, which means that you're meeting the minimum standard. Currently, we have just been elevated from tier 2 watch list to tier 2, and next week we expect our assessors to grade us a tier 2 based on conversations we have had. So that is the background behind it. But I'm sure we'll get into a more granular details about what trafficking really is and what it means to this country.
Well, first to begin with, Mr. Meiguel and Ms. Marshall, you spoke about prosecuting. You have a prosecutorial arm. Who comprises the counter trafficking unit? Is it? But I know. Is it police officers? Who actually makes up the unit of the counter trafficking?
Well, that's a very, very important question. And good morning to Trinidad and Tobago, and good morning to the team there. The counter trafficking unit is a multi-agency. As embodied in the TIPS Act, as Director indicated previously, the unit is comprised by persons from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, the Immigration Division, and of course we have civilian-based persons. We have social workers attached, we have a senior legal attached, and of course a communications officer. So it's a multi-agency, multi-pronged approach in the fight against trafficking. So as you were mentioning, Wendell, because the police in our country are the only ones with the power to arrest, they are embodied within the unit to perform that particular function in terms of investigations and arrest. Yes. Okay.
All right. And so how many people make up this unit on an average? Because you sound like you might be understaffed or overstaffed. Which one?
We small, but we talawa. We have a total group of about 25 persons, but it's a hardworking team. And permit me at this time to tell them good morning, and we truly appreciate the efforts that they have always brought forward in the fight against trafficking in persons in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay. I'm just wondering that trafficking and undercovering the trafficking criminal network in Trinidad and Tobago must be a very difficult exercise. And I don't know how much the counter trafficking unit works with the TTPS in probably having officers go undercover into some of those areas to try and make some headway into dismantling those gangs. Is there that sort of synergy between you all and the TTPS?
Yes, I will definitely say so, because we are quite incapable of dealing with based on our numbers, on dealing with dismantling these huge networks of persons who are engaged in trafficking in persons. So we rely heavily on partnership. Our toolbox may be small, but because of the partnerships and so on that we create with various units of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we can have a much greater impact than our numbers might seem to suggest. So yes, we have a very good synergy with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. I'd like to tell the Commissioner good morning and thank him for the assistance and so on he's given us, the SIU, the MOPS, a whole plethora of units that make up this counter-trafficking effort in Trinidad and Tobago.
I know you mentioned that there's a prosecutorial arm, and I know part of the tier 2 watch list and Trinidad not moving from it previously was that I know part of it was that there were no prosecutions. But I think that has since changed.
Yes.
How many people do we have before the court system at this point? I know there was one that was highlighted and there was a conviction. But have there been other convictions at this point?
Yes, indeed. Trinidad and Tobago received its second conviction earlier this year. A Valentine Eastman, at the time of his arrest, he was a police officer and he was convicted for the trafficking of 2 Colombian women in January this year.
Yeah,
a police officer.
I suppose a lot of the trafficking in a Trinidad and Tobago context takes place with Latin American women. Would I be correct to say that, or is it broader than that?
You will be quite sorry. Yeah, you'll be quite correct to say that. And And there is a positive correlation between migrant flow, the vulnerabilities it creates, and the opportunities that the criminals and it creates with the criminals. We know that Venezuela, they are going through, in fact, some political and economic upheavals. And there's a migrant flow stemming out of Venezuela to source countries like Trinidad, destination countries like Trinidad and Tobago and beyond. The criminal networks, and they have a system of recruitment, transportation, landing them in Trinidad and exploiting them for prostitution, in other words. So to answer your question more specifically, the migrant flows in Trinidad and Tobago predisposes the Latin American, especially females, to exploitation by the networks in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, they form about 98% of the victims and so on that we have found.
And I think at this time it's important to indicate right after the director that we are seeing Latin American victims and Latin American suspects.
Yes.
Right? So it's important for us to really add that as a unit, we are observing the trends, and we are at the point where we want to continue to dismantle those networks.
Now, what
I'm wondering, because you're sorry, Wendell, because you're dealing with Latin American women who are primarily, from this conversation, they are primarily the victims in a Trinidad and Tobago context. What happens when certain units come upon these trafficking rings and dismantle them, and you get these women? Are they deported? What happens?
Deportation is not an option once somebody is declared a victim of trafficking. So there's a procedure. Right. So the counter-trafficking unit, although we operate as an operational unit, we also are referral base. So you would find that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service might conduct operations far and wide through the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. And when they come up with Latin American female, the first port of call will obviously be the Immigration Division. The counter-trafficking unit has progressed significant public awareness and training mechanisms within the Immigration Division and the TTPS so that they'll be able to understand what we call the indicators of a victim of trafficking. When that happens, and might I say it happened over the weekend and yesterday, when that happens, what usually occurs is that the unit is called. And our team then goes out and interview these Latin American women to be able to differentiate what, if there are possible indicators, and if we could identify them as potential victims of trafficking at that time. As a directorate, we have developed a system where we really go through the process of corroborating some of the things that they say so that we'll be sure that there's a potential that these people were victims of trafficking. When that occurs, under the Trafficking in Persons Act, we are obligated to ensure that those persons have a measure of security, food security, clothing, shelter, and of course, ensure that they have the lawful status required to stay within the confines of Trinidad and Tobago throughout their prosecution process. So persons volunteer themselves to return home, and then they return for prosecution. So as we mentioned before, the two convictions we have had, the first being a Trinidadian female, she migrated, the second being two Colombian women, they return home. And we brought them back as a counter-trafficking unit to come before the court and give their evidence. So it's a two-pronged approach. The law provides that they can stay in Trinidad and Tobago or return. And
Now,
may I add him?
Yes, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Meiguel.
May I add? We know that persons who have been trafficked, who have been exploited, and so on, they would have suffered serious trauma along the way. For one thing, landing in a country not knowing where you are, and then people telling you have a debt and you have to go to a bar, a spa, or so on to prostitute yourself to pay back that debt. That is very traumatic, and part of our response is recognizing that fact. And our response in terms of victim care would involve the medical care, social services, psychosocial services, and so on. So that is the other side of the divide. Quite apart from doing the hard interdiction, we also have that aspect where the law requires us to take care of these people in a particular way. It's more based on a humanitarian response than a law enforcement response.
Well, you segued nicely into what I was about to ask, because what role does the counter-trafficking unit play in preventing these people from coming here? Because they are clearly coming here on flights or by boats. What role would you all play in even stopping it at that point, as opposed to them coming here and then you have to find them and of course investigate the businesses that are involved? Because I'm sure there are business people involved in this thing, not just errant police officers or errant servicemen, but there are actually business people involved in this. What role would you all play in preventing that?
So, Wendell, I'm so happy that you indicated that, because the counter-trafficking unit, we have progressed, as this directorate has progressed a significant public awareness within the limits of Trinidad and Tobago. When we speak about the situations that occur in Venezuela, we have, through our partnerships with the embassies and NGOs, have several consultations in relation to particular provinces that we see girls or women coming from, in terms of what is happening there. Is there any discussions or discourse in relation to trafficking in persons? We have ramped up our social media in relation to advising persons about what would be the possible scams, because the social media networks is what we are seeing is being used as a form of recruitment in trafficking in persons in Trinidad and Tobago. But again, as the director lamented a short while ago, the level of vulnerability that we are seeing coming out of Venezuela, they believe in a chance and they take that chance.
Yeah. You know what I was wondering? Whether there is any, I suppose there are other counter-trafficking units of the Caribbean or versions of it. How much is there an intersect with Trinidad and Tobago's counter-trafficking unit? Because of course trafficking is an international border crossing crime, and whether any Trinidad and Tobago nationals are also victims of that trafficking, and whether that has come to your attention.
In terms of in terms of coordination and cooperation with our Caribbean neighbors, yes, that is done because we recognize that it's so easier. And sometimes I like to go into a little granular, description to really make the point. It is not unforeseeable that a young person, and there are a number of persons in Trinidad, this is an aside, a number of young persons that go missing. And I made it my business to do some inquiry to find out what percentage of them are returning home. I know there's a percentage, but is it really far off left field to imagine a young person being snatched off the street, bundled on a boat and sailed to Jamaica or Grenada or Belize or so on? That is part, if you are doing a response, that must be in your contemplation. So we have forged some really good partnership throughout the Caribbean, of course, with the aid of some of the United Nations organizations. So, for example, we have been to Grenada and Panama and all of these places to ensure that our response dovetail with those of other Caribbean islands. And we are forging personal networks within the Caribbean to ensure that, things are not slipping out, and we are working contrary to each other's interests. So we are having sort of a united front from persons in the Caribbean who do similar work to us, and we are constantly engaging with each other. We share information. We have a film named Trafficked that we go up the Caribbean and we screen it with our other law enforcement partners who are similarly involved in trafficking. So yes, we are forging a strong transnational network, especially within this part of the hemisphere, because we are engaging, of course, Venezuela through our legal mutual assistance treaty to find the prosecutors on that side of the divide and try to work together so we have a better response. The Trinidad response will benefit from that type of collaboration in the future.
What do you need? I like a broad-based questions. What do you need as the counter-trafficking unit? Do you need an improvement in the legislation? Do you need additional enforcement provisions in your legislation? Because every agency I know always needs something that they don't have. Unless you are exceptionally resourced and have all of the human resource you need, which will be impossible.
I have to take this one because.
So what do you need? What do you need? Because I'm sure members of the government are watching us right now. What do you need? Talk to them.
If it is through our conversation, it comes across as if everything is right with the counter-trafficking unit. That is so far from the truth. Within recent times, they have stopped international aid to Trinidad and Tobago, and that represented a huge chunk of our capacity to deal with trafficking in persons. Remember, the law requires us that once a determination is made as to whether a person, when a person is declared a trafficking victim, the law requires us to take care of that person. Taking care of that person means what? Giving them food, housing, clothing, psychosocial, medical, and so on. And we are severely underfunded. Our fund comes directly from the general administration, and we have to petition, and we have to sometimes go crawling and sensitizing the financial directorate that here, when you be dealing with trafficking in persons, it requires a special response. If tonight we go on a raid and we come back with 9 persons, how are we feeding them? How are we housing them? And so on, if we don't have our particular budget. So in terms of vehicles, we are I don't want to expose too many of our weaknesses, but yes, we need severe injection of capital in order for us to continue the country's response to trafficking in persons.
But where do you
might I just add, one of the things that we really are looking at is seeing how the public and NGOs and whatnot could assist in like clothes and for the girls, because as the director rightfully said, when there's an operation, especially if it's not led by the CTU, the police would be more concerned about getting them out and rescuing them and leaving most of their belongings behind, clothing. So it's about starting afresh when they come to us. And when to answer your question, I cannot tell you where we house them.
No, I don't mean the specific location, but is it that you have to depend now on the police to assist in
No. The counter trafficking unit, we have a stock of shelters that we use, safe locations within Trinidad, and of course with the help of TIMA, if we have a victim in Tobago, we have a particular stock in Tobago also. Yeah. So that's where we house.
Well, I just want to bring up your information a little bit so that people can see the numbers, because there are NGOs, I'm sure, that are listening, or people who are connected to NGOs who can look at that number and maybe reach out to the counter-trafficking unit to provide some of those resources that you require. There's the number on screen, and you can probably try and assist in whatever way you can by contacting the counter-trafficking unit in terms of clothes, in terms of maybe food stuff and stuff like that, which can help with the resource allocation that you need as the counter-trafficking unit.
Well, I appreciate that.
I can't help but notice your address, from your building there. You might be able to be seeing a lot what's taking place on that outskirts in the back there, that sea, that in the back there by you.
I'm always looking out my window.
Okay, I'm very familiar with the area. I lived there for many years. You understand?
Can we not just win one, Wendell, with you? Can we just not win one?
So World Trafficking Days on July 30th. What are the plans?
So the counter trafficking unit, and I mean, Richard, I'm so happy that at least you're the first person that we're speaking to, because, I believe in the arts, and this directorate, we have proven the fact that we have looked at what our culture in Trinidad and Tobago is about, and we have progressed most of our public awareness through that medium. We boast in saying we had an art gala, we had a spoken word competition, we have had a sensitization throughout Trinidad, our schools using dance through the Trinity Dance Theatre in the piece Silenced, and now we would be having a spoken word improv by Mr. Darren Sandy at Queen's Hall on July 30th. And this is all in keeping with what we believe as the best vehicle to get the message across to Trinidad and Tobago. So World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is celebrated internationally on July 30th. And the counter-trafficking unit, of course, will be doing a series of things following prior to the day. But on that day, we all would be at Queen's Hall and with our stakeholders, key stakeholders, diplomats, government officials, and might I extend an invitation to you guys to attend this improv play about issues in trafficking in persons.
Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. Yeah. Go ahead, Brenda.
I wanted to go back to something that Mr. Meiguel would have said earlier on in terms of people from Trinidad possibly being trafficked outside of Trinidad. Have we had what is the level of incidents like that?
Sorry, I missed that. What is the level of
in terms of people being trafficked out of Trinidad? Has that been a huge concern for you and should it be our concern to us?
We have had during our investigative process indicators of that there may be something happening there. I don't want to get further into it, but it is sufficient for us to put together a response and not to take it as out of character in terms of when you think of what trafficking in persons is. So we are on the alert to that. We haven't had a case to prosecutors yet, but we certainly during our investigative process have come across a number of matters that seem to suggest that may be a possibility.
Now, someone had also put in the chat earlier on about I'm not using prevalence is not the word, but incidents that may involve Chinese nationals also too. Is there a concern there?
Yes,
Wendell? Yeah, sorry.
Well, it matters not the ethnicity, and we are led by the facts. Yeah, and if it is that the facts is showing that that is part of that ethnicity, then so be it. Just as the same way, if it is part of the Latin American ethnicity, and if it is part of the Trinidad and Tobago issues, yes, we deal with it. But I don't want to be specific, especially at this point in time, unless it's, and well, we run the risk, at alerting persons and so on. But yes, there are pockets of of trafficking indicators within the various groupings. Some for labor, some for sex, some for domestic servitude. But yes,
are the trafficked persons predominantly women? Are there male trafficked victims too?
At Trinidad and Tobago, we have rescued several male victims. I mean, I operated in the unit between 2013 to 2017 as a police officer operating in the unit. And during that time, we would have rescued men in labor situations and men in sexual exploitation situations. But since we have sat as directorate, we have not seen that really. But previously, in the previous dispensation, we have. And those matters are actually before the court in our jurisdiction.
How much do members of the public get involved in reporting possible trafficking situations? Because I think for a lot of people, we would see, Latin American women, which would be one of the, of course, main demographics in terms of the trafficked victim. But how can you tell? And what should members of the public look out for? And is there, and how do they report it if they suspect?
Eric, are you good? So those things are what we would call the indicators. So we ask our populace when we go out to the public awareness to observe particular things. You go to a spa and you observe particular things. Fear, the fact that there is a movement, the person moving with them, a measure of enforcement, either they're disheveled, marks of violence, there's so many things according to the scenario. We have adopted a campaign quite recently where we are asking men who prefer to go to places to purchase services to please watch out. And I will say to you, we have had 2 anonymous calls since after we had started that campaign, where persons indicated that they met with particular women, which actually resulted in one of our operations, Operation G-Ride, quite recently. It was a client that reported to the counter-trafficking unit that the person that he met with indicated that she was there forcefully. So I think that as we press forward and we adopt a measure of public awareness within Trinidad and Tobago, and people understand that sometimes when you go to a place for a service, that girl is not a willing participant, really. We would now adopt an approach where we will be getting a plethora of reports and we'll be actioning it as we go along.
So what are some of the signs people should look for? What are some of the signs people should look for?
Allan?
Yeah, well, we live in communities, and within the community, you have people hiding in plain sight. So when you see that there are Latin American persons moving in and out of community and not interacting with the community, or they're very secretive, or they seem to be very scared, or they just run to the parlor and run back in and all the doors are locked, that is a possible indicator that you have persons there who are being trafficked. I want to just elaborate a little bit on something the deputy said, and she said it in such a nice way that the message will be lost. There was a case recently where a John, we call them John, persons who pay for the services, when he saw the little piece of child that he was supposed to engage with,
pay for,
he broke down and he called the trafficking unit and he said, no, he can't, that is not what he's about. And I wish there are more persons who would have that sort of empathy, that sort of, who could realize that this is absolutely wrong, because I saw an investigator from my unit broke down in tears when he heard the story of a little bag of bones, Latin American female, little tiny children, yes? Children. And the exploitation, those are the exceptions, but the exploitation continues day in, day out in Trinidad and Tobago. So the question is, whether it is we are getting enough reports from members of the public, the answer is no. We are getting some, but we need people to step up. And when you see something like that, you say something. The counter-trafficking unit, we pride ourselves on our confidentiality, how we keep people who report us, we protect their identity. We are required by law, actually, so to do. So we would wish that the public, through all the sensitization and so on we are doing, that they come forward with more reports, because we have the capacity. And if we don't have it now, we will get the capacity to investigate them all.
Now, Deputy Director Marshall had identified a specific profession, for want of a better word, like spas that you may observe this. Where are some of the other places that people should look for signs like this?
So we have spas, we have bars. We have those bars that believe that we could have a one room in the back and so that we could facilitate prostitution within the armpits of the bar, right? So just the everyday bar that you might run up on the beach somewhere. Don't want to give away my intelligence, but this is what is happening. It is in plain sight. I've not gotten intelligence of anything happening at rum box, but
restaurants. You may have at restaurants,
and of course, we have had issues of restaurants in terms of labor exploitation. Is something that Director and I actually spoke to Minister about quite recently, where we want to start to do some nice little visits with our immigration subsect in the unit of persons who have legal work permits, Because again, as Director indicated, we have been speaking with our friends, and there's a trend of persons who are exploited in domestic servitude and labor exploitation, having had lawful work permits in their parent country. So we are looking at that also as a proactive measure in looking at the fight in trafficking in persons.
But clearly, based on what I'm hearing from you two goodly people, you all don't have enough people. You don't have enough personnel.
They don't have enough people for this work in the world. But what we have is a will, and there will be a way.
And we have partnerships. Yeah, we form partnerships with persons and they who are better equipped with us in certain fields. So we must partner with them. Mature engagement, mature partnership. And what I have found is that these people are professional, and if it is that we really engage them at a professional level, they come to your aid and they assist, and they do so with excitement, yes, and enthusiasm.
Yeah. Because and I want to at this point speak about Operation Thinking Point, and as operation that the unit took in Point 14, where we dismantled a network. And what happened, and on the scene on that day, although it was 20 of us, we had close to over 60 persons, and they came from different arms and agencies, because we're not just looking at the trafficking, we're looking at the money. So we had the Financial Investigations Branch of Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We had the Finance Division, because we evaluated the property, because within the laws of Trinidad and Tobago, proceeds of crime, you can seize property, you can seize cars, you can seize anything that is used in the commission of an offense. And we continue by making sure that the CSIs are there. So as the director rightfully says, we have surrounded ourselves with a team of professionals, and they're being led by Commissioner Guevara at this time. And as he mentioned in his interview with you all, we met with him very early to discuss how we could continue to progress this partnership in this fight against trafficking.
Yeah. All right.
Are you willing to take some calls? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll open up the lines at this point in terms of taking some calls from our listeners for the counter-trafficking unit. Of course, the number is 281-1315. It's up on your screen, 281-1315. I'll put the ticket tape and remove the number so you can see the number there. And of course, I can also bring back up the information for the counter-trafficking unit. And maybe it's a number you want to keep, like the CTU hotline is 800-4CTU, 800-4CTU. And of course, the counter-trafficking unit landline number is 627-1339, 627-1339.
Richard, just in case people can't find the CTU on the keyboard, it's 4268. All right, 800-4268. That's the number.
4288.
4288. Sorry.
Given misinformation.
Well, my glass. I had to look up in the bifocal section of my glasses. Yeah. But just in case you folks, because I had to delete something on the chat a little earlier on, where somebody calling a name. You can't do that, please. Please don't do our show that. So don't call and call any name or make any accusations. You can ask general questions, even give general information, but please do not put a name out there. All right.
All right. So we have a caller online. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning, lady and gentlemen. I have a question. It's something that always boggles my mind. I think the police, I believe that the police use this word human trafficking very frivolously. Here's why. I know a lot of women that leave Trinidad voluntarily, goes to Turks and Caicos and some of the other small islands, do the services, I don't want to call it by its colonial term, do the services voluntarily, come back home and live the life normal like they play saints and they're not doing nothing. And I expect the same thing happens for Venezuelan women that come here and ply the longest trade that ever existed in the world, right? But for some reason, this voluntary job is still perceived by the TTPS as human trafficking. Do you have an explanation for that?
May I?
Director, you
Yes.
taking that? I'll just sum up after.
No, yeah. The truth is, you're conflating two
Thanks, Lincoln.
different forms of crimes. One is the oldest profession known to man, right? Prostitution. And people, they do that, they take the risk, yeah, and they suffer the consequences, they are deported and so on. But in this case, when we're dealing with human trafficking, it is the exploitation of the vulnerability of persons for gain by persons and they who form that criminal enterprise. Trafficking in persons is but one of the economies associated with gangs. So we are, in fact, looking at a gang culture. The networks, and then we call them networks, but these are really gangs of people, two or more persons acting together, to exploit an individual. Part of the distinction would mean that would entail the taking away of people's passport, not leaving them with any money, rapes, beatings, and so on, while the network is profiting. So we can't conflate the two. Prostitution, yes. When we let's say we are investigating a case of trafficking in persons and we bounce up prostitution, we don't use our resources to try to find a case of trafficking. We know what to do then, and the immigration will be involved, and so on and so on and so on. But we don't expend our resources for mere prostitution. So we have to make that distinction, and that distinction is made through screening of the individual where necessary. We find it necessary.
So might I add at this point, it's important that I come in. First things first, the counter-trafficking unit is a separate entity from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. So within the counter-trafficking unit, I defend my defense force officers, I defend my immigration officers, because the unit is a unit that is set up to treat with trafficking in person. So we are not the TTPS. The second point, and the director was rightful in saying it, in the cases of what he described in Turks and Caicos, we have seen it here where Venezuelan women frankly, blatantly inform that they are here prostituting and operating willingly. But the director also indicated, and I am not being nice as he indicated, I want to be as plain. If I am coming to be a prostitute, my intention would be to receive the money from my service. But in a case of trafficking in persons, that does not happen. It's an exploitation of the prostitution. Yeah. There is the beatings. There is the deception. So we operate on a platform of act, means, and purpose. We have to be able to determine, and it's not the police confusing the thing. We have to be able to determine by law that there was an act, there was a recruitment, transportation, transfer, a harboring of an individual, coupled with means, deception, coercion, threat, and must be added exploitation, be it labor, sex, or domestic servitude. In cases of children, we don't need to develop the second factor because a child cannot give consent in those areas. Yeah. Noted. So, for the goodly gentleman today, I would want you to contact the counter-trafficking unit and let us have a discussion so that you'll be able to understand the distinction, because these things is what causes persons to be lost in a system and begging for assistance, because he's of the notion once he goes to a place for a service, that person there willingly. And I just indicated that that does not always be the case.
Well, okay. I mean, you couldn't explain it better than that. Just a Nice Guy is asking a pretty important question on the chat here. Should there be legal brothels in Trinidad and Tobago to help stem the illegal exploitation of people?
Can you say that again, Wendell?
He said, should there be legal brothels in Trinidad and Tobago to help stem the illegal exploitation of people? Would that help?
I would volunteer. I would volunteer a response to that. The country has a government. They have an opposition. They make laws and policies and so on. So that is left up to that those chambers, the upper and lower chamber, to determine what is the best laws to govern or for governance of the country. And whether it is they want to legalize prostitution, and that is out of my pay grade, and I wouldn't even engage with that further.
Yeah. All right, so I mean, we're about to wrap up. I don't know if you have any final words, both of you, concerning, well, the World Day on July 30th, and any other statements you want to make as we close off.
Well, I just yeah.
I'll go before the director, let him wrap up. I mean, the counter-trafficking unit, we have a responsibility to under a public platform, and one of those things are prevention, and that would entail public awareness. And this, for us, is a form of public awareness. The World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is celebrated, and we wanted to be able to show that Trinidad and Tobago is really recognizing the importance of letting our populace know that we have become a source country and a destination country for trafficking in persons, and we would want you all to continue to support in our endeavors. We have so many things happening. You can contact our offices for public awareness engagements. We go to schools, confirmation classes, anywhere you want us, we will be there to really drive home the point of trafficking in persons. Director?
Yeah, one of the measurements I use to determine the effectiveness of the counter-trafficking unit is to observe from gathering intelligence, the change in nature of trafficking in persons. So I have noticed that there was one time the network Sunday were mainly Trinidadians who employed many Latin Americans to bridge the language barrier. What I'm seeing now is that a lot of the recruitment and the trafficking is done by Latin American persons, in addition to which we realize that the use of AI is present here with us now in terms of utilizing the platform Sunday for recruitment and to entice persons to come. And as soon as they accept it, the whole system disappears. So those changes, and they reflect that the counter-trafficking unit is in fact in full engagement, and we will make the adjustment to suit, because we think that there are opportunities when people change their trends. They are going to make mistakes, and we are going to be there to make sure that this country's response to trafficking in persons is as strong as it can be under the circumstances.
Indeed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meiguel and Ms. Marshall. Good to see you again, Dane-Marie.
Good to see you too, Randall. And of course, we would be extending our invitation. I hope to see you there. I mean, once I get a grade 5 from Richard, I'll feel so very good. And my mother said to tell you. No, I went to his play. I was not going to tell him that my mother said that the play was good. She told me she met you at Trinity Mall car park and lamented that she wanted to play. Yes. We attended. It was fantastic. So I hope you attend ours. We'll extend the invitation.
And Mr. Meiguel, good seeing you again.
Thank you, Wendell.
Say hello to Mrs. Meiguel first.
I will.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.
All right. So thank you so much to the counter-trafficking unit for speaking with us today. And of course, interesting thing, and of course, World Trafficking in Persons Day is on July 30th. But I shouldn't talk too much because we need to go straight to our news.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The body of kidnapped victim Kerry Von Adams was found in a fruit and vegetable garden at the heights of Guanapo, Arima yesterday. The 35-year-old from Red Hill, Dabadi, was last seen on Saturday. Police report that his sister received a ransom call early Sunday morning demanding $15,000. Following the caller's instructions, she dropped the money between Gill and Davis Avenue and was told to collect her brother at the Arima Boys RC School. However, when she arrived, he was not there, and subsequent calls went unanswered. A farmer discovered the body around midday yesterday while tending to his crops. The Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago has expressed deep concern about what it calls unwarranted attacks on independent senators following the recent pension bill debate. The association criticized public remarks targeting senators who did not support the Prime Minister's pension amendment bill, emphasizing that independent senators are selected by the President to provide diverse perspectives, not political party nominations. In response, the UNC defended its right to analyze and criticize lawmakers, calling the Law Association's statement anti-democratic. UNC spokesperson Dr. Kirk Meiguel argued that citizens have the right to scrutinize senators appointed by what he termed the most politically aligned president in our republic's history. PNM Port of Spain South MP Keith Scotland says the withdrawal of an axed CPEP contractor's High Court claim was a strategic move, not a legal setback. Speaking at the party's first public meeting since new leadership was appointed, Scotland explained that Stephen Samuels Contractors Limited withdrew its lawsuit after discovering the company had been struck from the company's registry without its knowledge. Former Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi said many CPEP companies were victims of an exercise to delist companies from the registry. Scotland believes workers were targeted because of political affiliations and plans to fight the matter on constitutional grounds. Over 300 contractors were dismissed on June 27th, affecting around 11,000 workers. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In regional news, CARICOM's Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett has called on Caribbean leaders to recommit to integration goals as the region faces complex challenges. Speaking at the 49th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Montego Bay, Dr. Barnett praised outgoing Chair Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley for amplifying the region's voice and welcomed incoming Chair Jamaica's Andrew Holness. The meeting is addressing climate change, food security, and citizen security under the theme People, Partnerships, Prosperity. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Mottley credited U.S. President Trump with unintentionally strengthening CARICOM's food security partnerships after threatening tariffs on Chinese-made ships, revealing that a Caribbean trade delegation recently visited Brazil to develop cheaper food access. In international news, more than 100 people are confirmed dead following devastating flash floods in central Texas, with at least 84 fatalities in Kerr County alone. Search efforts continue for dozens still missing, including children and staff from Camp Mystic, a girls' summer camp where 27 people died. At least 10 children and one counselor remain unaccounted for. Authorities warn that more rain and thunderstorms are expected in the region, raising concerns about additional flash flooding. Questions have emerged about whether adequate flood warnings were provided to residents. President Trump is planning to visit the devastated area later this week to assess the damage and coordinate federal response efforts. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Great news, Caribbean. The Breakfast Show is now on M&E TV, bringing you entertaining conversations, vital information, and influential perspectives throughout Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean region. Catch us on Digicel Channel 20, Flow Channel 111, Amplia Channel 117, Blink Channel 109, Tricode Channel 154, and Airlink Channel 10. The Breakfast Show connects with the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago like never before. We're now on M&E TV.
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17, come enjoy Children Iron Chef Competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
Looking for trusted, affordable security and property services? Horatio Services has you covered across Trinidad and Tobago. We offer battle security, canine patrols, 24/7 protection, and all sorts of private investigations, discreet, professional, and effective. But that's not all. We also provide construction. From building to renovation, we bring your vision to life. Landscaping, keep your outdoors looking sharp and inviting. Maintenance, repairs, upkeep, and everything in between. At Horatio Services, you get professionalism, reliability, and personal care. Whether it's safety or property support you need. Visit us at Moreno Street, Arima. Call 373-5122 today. Horatio Services, protection, precision, peace of mind.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. All right, so we are back, and this is, of course, we're about to close off the show for this morning on the breakfast show on this Tuesday morning.
Yeah. I just going through the chat a bit, and well, with the question that Just a Nice Guy asked, even Dean Allan is making some suggestions that I totally agree with. Beauty Culture also suggested that we could do that as a poll. In terms of allowing legalizing some levels, I guess, of prostitution or whatever, based on the questions and based on the comments in the chat. Maybe we could look at that another day. But I was just Googling in Amsterdam, where, of course, you can do just anything, anytime, with anyone. There are very few cases of rape. You understand? Even Just a Nice Guy was saying some international studies indicate a decrease in rape and sexual assault in areas with legal brothels, potentially due to increased regulation and monitoring. And of course, in these places, you have to continuously do HIV tests and so on. Otherwise, you can't go and stand in that red window behind that red curtain. So we could try that one of these days. But I just wanted to send a message also to some of my detractors who apparently made mischief over my post with Khadija Amin, who is a long-standing friend and almost like family, as I said, and Barry Potter at the Hussein St. James yesterday. People make mischief and political mischief for what I don't know. And you all know I don't care. I choose who I be with.
What I care about you, Mr. On your soapbox talk now. What I care about is that you did not get an interview with Barry Padarat. That is what I care about.
Nah, I had too much rude boy in my system.
No, you could talk. Oh, I like to talk. The man right next to you can say, hey, you coming on our show?
But I already sent you an
invitation. Who's still on, listeners and viewers? When I had the perfect opportunity to liaise with Barry Padarat, to get him on the show, to speak with us, when I let it pass, he didn't feel it was right and necessary at that point in time. When it's right and necessary,
he was overwhelmed. Some people just get overwhelmed by the presence of politicians.
Please.
I've
never overwhelmed by people.
He said, "Oh, good. Afraid that's good. I did right down a camera." I'm afraid to talk to him about it.
First, because I wasn't even expecting Barry Padarat.
Doesn't matter. The person that paid me for you.
Yeah.
And we wanted the money program.
Yeah.
See, let me give the listeners a little insight. Let me give the listeners a little insight. Let me tell you all how bad it was. That when they deserve whatever criticism you get from people on the social media. Let me tell you why. Because a day or two before that, he actually sent a message to Barry Padarat asking him to come on the show. Barry Padarat listened to the message and did not respond as yet. A few days later, like a few minutes later, there he is standing up in Jose Tassa drums, drinking Rude Boy, Barry Padarat, and him going to the Tassa, and he can say, hey, you coming on our show? Hey, you're coming on our show? No. All of a sudden, Wendell can't talk.
You are real clown, yes.
All of a sudden, Wendell has lost his voice.
You have some information for me? Please get it to me as soon as possible. Okay? You can do that? You think you can do that?
Like we have to raise the alcohol.
His voice.
A little higher.
Oh, Lordy. Anyway, folks, it has been such a wonderful occasion again, spending some time with you all this morning. Remember, one life, live it, and stop controlling yourself and minding other people's business.
Have a fantastic day. Whatever you do, remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health. Keep on the stream on NewEraRadioTT.com or check us on TuneIn. New Era TT Radio. Lots of programming for the rest of the day. Have a great day, whatever you do. This has been
The Breakfast Show.
That's it.
Jump
have a voice now.
Jump on KLM and go Amsterdam and relieve all your stress. Stop stressing me. Go Amsterdam, relieve your stress.
This has been The Breakfast Show.
Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The Breakfast Show got the vibes turned